Every single person in this room has been programmed since childhood to be a professional victim, and most of you don't even realize it. You were taught that someone else is responsible for your happiness, your success, your future. You were trained to look outside yourself for solutions, validation, and opportunities. You learned to blame your parents for your problems, your boss for your income, your circumstances for your limitations. This victim programming has turned you into an adult who expects the world to accommodate your needs, recognize your worth, and hand you opportunities. But the world doesn't care about your programming, your expectations, or your needs. The world only responds to what you do, not what you hope for, not what you deserve, not what you think you're owed. Until you deprogram yourself from this victim mentality, you'll spend your entire life waiting for someone else to save you. Let me tell you something that might shock you. The biggest lie you've ever been told is that someone somewhere owes you something. Your parents owe you. Your boss owes you. The government owes you. Society owes you. Your friends owe you. Even life itself owes you. But here's the truth that will set you free. Nobody owes you anything, not your next meal, not your success, not your happiness, not even your next breath. And once you truly understand this, once you let this truth sink deep into your bones, your entire life will change. I've been studying success for decades, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that every person who has achieved anything meaningful in life has learned this lesson. They stopped waiting for someone else to hand them what they wanted. They stopped expecting the world to recognize their needs. They stopped believing that life should be fair. You see, most people go through life with their hand out, wondering why nobody's filling it. They wonder why their boss doesn't appreciate them more. They wonder why their family doesn't support their dreams. They wonder why opportunities don't just knock on their door. They're waiting for someone to give them permission to succeed, but success doesn't work that way. Success has never worked that way. Success comes to those who understand that if it's going to be, it's up to me. Think about it. Right now, at this very moment, you might be upset with someone. Maybe your spouse doesn't appreciate you enough. Maybe your children don't respect you. Maybe your coworkers don't value your contributions. Maybe your boss doesn't pay you what you think you're worth. Maybe your friends don't call you back quickly enough. But what if I told you that all of that frustration, all of that disappointment, all of that anger comes from one simple mistake in your thinking? You believe they owe you something. You believe they should act differently. You believe the world should treat you better. The moment you release that belief, the moment you truly accept that no one owes you anything, everything changes. Suddenly, you stop being a victim. Suddenly, you stop being disappointed. Suddenly, you start taking control of your own life. When you act like no one owes you anything, you start creating your own opportunities instead of waiting for them. You start building your own success instead of hoping someone will hand it to you. You start taking responsibility for your own happiness instead of depending on others to make you happy. This isn't about being harsh or cold. This isn't about not caring about people. This is about freedom. This is about power. This is about taking control of the only life you'll ever have. I learned this lesson the hard way. For years, I walked around thinking the world owed me something. I thought because I was a good person, because I worked hard, because I had good intentions, that somehow life should reward me. I was wrong. I'll tell you a story that changed my life forever. I was 25 years old, broke and full of excuses. I had convinced myself that my lack of success was everyone else's fault. My boss didn't pay me enough. My family didn't support me enough. The economy wasn't good enough. The opportunities weren't there. Sound familiar? One day, I met a successful businessman at a coffee shop. I started complaining to him about all my problems, all the reasons why I couldn't get ahead. He listened patiently, then asked me one simple question that shattered my world. So what are you going to do about it? I said, what do you mean? These aren't my problems to solve. Other people created these problems. He smiled and said something I'll never forget. Young man, the day you take complete responsibility for your life is the day your life will start to change. Until then, you'll always be a victim of circumstances. Instead of a creator of circumstances, that conversation changed everything for me. I realized I had been living my entire life waiting for someone else to solve my problems. I had been acting like the world owed me success, happiness, and opportunity. I had been wrong. You see, there are two types of people in this world. There are people who happen to life, and there are people who life happens to. There are people who create their circumstances and there are people who are victims of their circumstances. There are people who make things happen. Which type are you? Right now, in this moment, which category do you fall into? Are you creating your life, or are you waiting for life to create something for you? Are you taking action, or are you making excuses? Are you building your future, or are you hoping someone else will build it for you? Most people, if they're honest, will admit they're waiting. They're waiting for their boss to give them a raise. They're waiting for their spouse to change. They're waiting for their children to appreciate them. They're waiting for the economy to improve. They're waiting for opportunities to appear. They're waiting for someone to recognize their potential. But here's what I learned that day in the coffee shop. While you're waiting for your life to change, your life is passing by. While you're waiting for someone else to solve your problems are getting bigger. While you're waiting for opportunities to find you, opportunities are going to people who are creating their own opportunities, taking complete ownership of your life. Now, what does it really mean to act like no one owes you anything? It means you take complete ownership of every aspect of your life. Your income, your health, your relationships, your happiness, your future, all of it, no exceptions. When your income isn't what you want it to be, you don't blame your boss or the economy or your lack of opportunities. You ask yourself, what can I do to become more valuable? What skills can I develop? What services can I provide? How can I solve bigger problems for more people? When your relationships aren't what you want them to be, you don't blame the other person. You ask yourself, how can I be a better friend, a better spouse, a better parent? What can I give to this relationship instead of what can I get from it? When your health isn't what you want it to be, you don't blame your genetics or your age or your circumstances. You ask yourself, what choices can I make today to improve my health? What habits can I change? What can I do right now to take better care of my body? This shift in thinking changes everything. Instead of being at the mercy of other people's decisions, you become the author of your own story. Instead of being a victim of circumstances, you become the creator of your circumstances. But here's what most people don't understand. This isn't just about success. This is about peace. This is about freedom. This is about sleeping well at night, knowing that your future is in your hands, not in someone else's. When you depend on other people for your success, your happiness, your security, you're always worried. You're always wondering if they'll come through for you. You're always disappointed when they don't meet your expectations. You're always at their mercy. But when you act like no one owes you anything, when you take complete responsibility for your own life, you're free. You're not worried about what other people are going to do because you're focused on what you're going to do. I remember meeting a young man who was angry at his father for not paying for his college education. He was 25 years old, still living at home, still complaining about what his father didn't do for him. I asked him a simple question. How long are you going to let your father's decision control? You're lying. See, his father didn't owe him a college education. His father didn't owe him anything. But this young man was so focused on what he didn't get that he couldn't see what he could create for himself. 2 years later, I saw him again. He had gotten a job, saved money, and was putting himself through school. He looked different. He carried himself differently. He had stopped being a victim and started being a creator. The most successful people I know have this in common. They don't expect anything from anyone. They don't expect their employer to take care of them. They don't expect the government to solve their problems. They don't expect their family to support their dreams. They take care of themselves. Let me share something with you that most people never understand. The people who expect the least from others often receive the most from others. Think about that. The people who demand nothing often get everything. The people who need nothing often attract everything they want. Why is this true? Because when you don't need other people to complete you, you become complete yourself. When you don't need other people to validate you, you become self-validated. When you don't need other people to motivate you, you become self-motivated and complete validated. Motivated people are magnetic. When you act like no one owes you anything, you become the kind of person others want to help, not because they have to, but because they want to. Not because you expect it, but because you've earned it. Not because you demand it, but because you deserve it. Building your own success foundation. The secret to building lasting success is understanding that you must create value before you can receive value. You must give before you can get. You must serve before you can be served. This is the natural law of success, and it works every time. Most people have this backwards. They want to get paid before they work hard. They want to be loved before they love others. They want to be respected before they respect others. They want the world to give them something before they give anything to the world. But that's not how it works. That's not how it's ever worked. The universe operates on the principle of sowing and reaping. You must plant before you can harvest. You must invest before you can receive returns. You must create value before you can capture value. When you truly understand that no one owes you anything, you start focusing on what you can give instead of what you can get. You start asking different questions. Instead of what can this company do for me, you ask what can I do for this company? Instead of what can this person give me, you ask what can I give this person? This shift in focus changes everything. Suddenly, you're not just another person with your hand out, you're someone who brings value. You're someone who solves problems. You're someone who makes other people's lives better. I've seen this principle work countless times. I've watched people transform their careers, their relationships, and their entire lives simply by changing their focus from getting to giving. There was a woman who came to one of my seminars. She was frustrated with her job, angry at her boss, convinced that she was underpaid and underappreciated. She was right. She was underpaid and underappreciated. But here's what she didn't understand. She was underpaid and underappreciated because she wasn't providing enough value. I challenged her to spend the next 90 days focusing solely on how much value she could create for her company, not on what she could get, but on what she could give, not on how she was being treated, but on how she was treating others, not on what she deserved, but on what she could earn. 3 months later, she called me. She had received a promotion and a 30% raise, but more importantly, she had discovered something about herself. She had discovered her power. She had discovered that when you focus on creating value, value comes back to you. This is the secret that successful people understand. They don't focus on what they can get, they focus on what they can give. They don't focus on what others owe them. They focus on what they can offer others. When you approach life this way, opportunities start appearing everywhere. People start noticing you. Doors start opening. Not because anyone owes you anything, but because you've made yourself valuable. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. The marketplace rewards value. The marketplace pays for solutions. The marketplace compensates contribution. If you want more from the marketplace, you must bring more to the marketplace. This principle works in every area of life. In your marriage, if you want more love, give more love. In your friendships, if you want more loyalty, be more loyal. In your career, if you want more money, create more value. In your community, if you want more respect, show more respect. The beautiful thing about this approach is that it puts you in control. You're not waiting for someone else to decide your worth. You're not hoping someone else will recognize your value. You're creating value so obvious, so significant, that it can't be ignored. When you act like no one owes you anything, you start building your success on a foundation of contribution, not expectation. You start building relationships based on what you give, not what you get. You start building a career based on your value, not your need. This foundation is unshakable. It can't be taken away from you. It doesn't depend on other people's moods or decisions. It doesn't depend on the economy or politics or circumstances. It depends on you and you alone. The freedom that comes from self-reliance. There's a freedom that comes from self-reliance that most people never experience. It's the freedom from needing other people's approval. It's the freedom from depending on other people's decisions. It's the freedom from being disappointed by other people's actions. When you act like no one owes you anything, you stop being a victim of other people's choices. You stop being controlled by other people's opinions. You stop being limited by other people's limitation. Think about the people you know who are always upset, always disappointed, always frustrated. What do they have in common? They're always waiting for someone else to do something. They're always expecting someone else to change. They're always hoping someone else will solve their problems. But think about the people you know who are consistently happy, consistently successful, consistently at peace. What do they have in common? They take responsibility for their own lives. They don't wait for others to make them happy. They don't expect others to solve their problems. They don't hope others will change. This is the difference between people who control their own destiny and people who are controlled by their circumstances. This is the difference between people who create their own opportunities and people who wait for opportunities to be given to them. When I was young, I used to get upset when people didn't call me back. I used to get frustrated when people didn't appreciate my efforts. I used to get angry when people didn't treat me the way I thought they should. I was constantly disappointed because I was constantly expecting. But then I learned this life-changing truth. Other people don't exist to meet your expectations. Other people have their own lives, their own problems, their own priorities. They're not thinking about you as much as you think they should be. They're not responsible for your happiness. They're not responsible for your success. They're not responsible for your future. The moment I truly understood this, the moment I truly accepted that no one owed me anything, I became free, free from disappointment, free from frustration, free from depending on others for my peace of mind. This freedom is priceless. When you're not constantly expecting things from other people, you're not constantly disappointed by other people. When you're not depending on others for your happiness, you're not unhappy when others let you down. When you're not waiting for others to solve your problems, you're not stuck when others don't help. Instead, you become the solution. You become the opportunity. You become the change you want to see. You stop being reactive and start being proactive. You stop being dependent and start being independent. This independence isn't about isolation. It's not about not needing anyone. It's about not expecting anyone to owe you anything. It's about being complete in yourself while still being connected to others. When you're truly self-reliant, you can enjoy relationships without being needy. You can work with others without being dependent. You can receive help without feeling entitled. You can give help without expecting anything in return. Let me tell you about a businessman I met years ago. He had built 3 successful companies from nothing. When I asked him what his secret was, he said something I'll never forget. I never expected anyone to care about my success more than I did. I never expected anyone to work harder for my dreams than I was willing to work. I never expected anyone to believe in my vision if I wasn't willing to bet everything on it myself. That's the mindset of a winner. That's the thinking of someone who creates their own destiny. He didn't wait for investors to believe in him. He made himself so successful that investors wanted to be part of what he was building. He didn't wait for customers to need his product. He created something so valuable that customers lined up to buy it. When you stop expecting the world to hand you success and start creating success yourself, something magical happens. You develop what I call earned confidence. This isn't the fake confidence that comes from empty positive thinking. This is the real confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you because you've handled it before. This earned confidence changes how you walk, how you talk, how you think, how you act. People can sense it. They can feel it. They're attracted to it because so few people have it. Most people are walking around hoping someone will save them, fix them, help them, validate them. But you're different. You don't need saving because you save yourself. You don't need fixing because you fix yourself. You don't need help because you help yourself. And here's the beautiful irony. When you stop needing help, that's when people most want to help you. When you stop needing validation, that's when people most want to validate you. When you stop needing others to believe in you, that's when others most want to believe in you. When you act like no one owes you anything, you develop an inner strength that can't be shaken. You develop a confidence that doesn't depend on external validation. You develop a peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. This is the foundation of true success. Not the kind of success that depends on other people's decisions, but the kind of success that depends on your decisions. Not the kind of success that can be taken away from you, but the kind of success that you create and control. Your new life philosophy and action plan. So how do you start living this way? How do you make this shift from expecting everything to expecting nothing? How do you transform from being dependent to being self-reliant? Let me give you a practical plan that you can start implementing today. First, stop complaining. Every complaint is based on the belief that someone owes you something different than what you're getting. Every complaint is an expectation that hasn't been met. When you catch yourself complaining, ask yourself, what am I expecting here that I'm not getting? Then ask yourself, why do I believe I'm owed this? Second, start asking different questions. Instead of asking, why isn't this person helping me? Ask, how can I help myself? Instead of asking, why don't I have what I want? Ask, what can I do to get what I want? Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? Third, focus on contribution, not compensation. In every situation, ask yourself, what can I give here? How can I add value? How can I make this better? When you focus on contributing, compensation follows naturally. Fourth, take responsibility for everything in your life. Your income, your health, your relationships, your happiness, your future, all of it. Stop blaming others. Stop making excuses. Stop waiting for someone else to fix things. If something needs to change it yourself. Fifth, develop your skills and abilities. The more valuable you become, the more value you can create for others. The more value you create for others, the more success you'll achieve. Invest in yourself. Learn new things. Become better at what you do. Sixth, serve others without expecting anything in return. Help people not because they owe you something, but because you choose to help. Give not because you expect to receive, but because giving is its own reward. Serve not because you have to, but because you want to. Seventh, celebrate other people's success instead of resenting it. When someone achieves something you want, instead of thinking, why them, and not me, think, if they can do it, so can I. Instead of being jealous, be inspired. Instead of feeling entitled to what they have, work to create what you want. Eighth, practice gratitude for what you have instead of focusing on what you don't have. Every day, remind yourself of the things you've been given, the opportunities you've had, the people who have helped you, not because they owed you these things, but because they were gifts. Ninth, build your own security instead of depending on others for security. Save your own money. Develop your own skills. Create your own opportunities. Build your own network. Don't depend on your job, your spouse, your family, or the government to provide security for you. 10th, make decisions based on what you can control, not on what you can't control. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control your reactions. You can control the economy, but you can control your skills. You can't control opportunities, but you can control your preparation. This isn't easy. It requires a complete shift in thinking. It requires giving up the victim mentality that says the world owes you something. It requires accepting the responsibility that comes with freedom. It requires growing up and taking control of your own life. But here's what I promise you. If you make this shift, if you truly start acting like no one owes you anything, your life will transform. You'll stop being disappointed by others and start being empowered by yourself. You'll stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You'll stop being a victim of circumstances and start being the architect of your destiny. The choice is yours. You can continue believing that someone somewhere owes you something. You can keep waiting for others to give you what you want. You can keep being disappointed when the world doesn't meet your expectation. Or you can choose freedom. You can choose responsibility. You can choose to act like no one owes you anything and start creating the life you want. But let me warn you about something. This philosophy isn't popular. Most people don't want to hear that no one owes them anything. Most people want to believe that their problems are someone else's fault. You'll find that when you start taking complete responsibility for your life, some people won't like it. They'll try to pull you back down. They'll tell you you're being too hard on yourself. They'll try to convince you that you should expect more from others. Don't listen to them. These are the voices of mediocrity. These are the voices of people who have given up control of their own lives. These are the voices of people who would rather blame than build, who would rather complain than create. Surround yourself with people who think like you think. Find people who have taken responsibility for their own lives. Learn from people who have created their own success. These are your people. Remember, every day you have a choice. You can wake up expecting the world to serve you, or you can wake up looking for ways to serve the world. You can spend your day focused on what you're not getting, or you can spend your day focused on what you can give. This choice determines everything. It determines your mood, your energy, your relationships, your opportunities, your income, your future. It determines whether you'll look back on your life with regret or with pride. I want you to make me a promise. Promise yourself that from this day forward, you'll act like no one owes you anything. Promise yourself that you'll stop waiting and start working. Promise yourself that you'll stop expecting and start creating. Promise yourself that you'll take complete responsibility for your income, your health, your relationships, your happiness, your future. Promise yourself that you'll stop being a victim and start being a victor. The moment you make this choice, the moment you truly accept that your life is your responsibility and no one else's, everything changes. You stop being at the mercy of other people's decisions and start being in control of your own decisions. You stop being limited by other people's limitations and start being unlimited by your own potential. This is your time. This is your opportunity. This is your chance to take control of your life and create the success you want. Not because anyone owes it to you, but because you're willing to work for it. Not because you deserve it, but because you're going to earn it. Not because it should be easy, but because you're willing to do what's difficult. Act like no one owes you anything, and everything you want will become possible. This is the secret. This is the key. This is the foundation of all lasting success and happiness. Your life is waiting. Your future is calling. Your destiny is in your hands. What are you going to do with it?